I guess it's for recording. All right. So what we want to do is open a new project with your template. So I'm just gonna open mine clean. So you go regular file, new. You're supposed to open up with your title block. I'm not. I'm gonna open it with something like this. That's all right. And basically, what we want to do is start out with the base, the big piece on the cleat. So we're gonna start drawing with a line, and preferably keep close to the x and y coordinates, the 0, 0. That way, it's not all your objects aren't far away apart from each other. We're gonna draw a line across, making sure our ortho is on. That's gonna be 4 inches across. Whoa, that's a really small drawing. So I have to move that even closer to the X and Y and zoom in. There we go. So that's my 4 inches. I can double check that by going to annotate, dimension. Yeah, mechanical B-size paper. And you can see I have 4 inches right here. Once you have that, we're going to create 2 lines on the side that are 2 inches long. So 2 inches, enter or space. And same thing on here. Make sure you have O-snap on, and make sure you have intersect. You don't need nod. Midpoint's pretty useful. Endpoint's a basic, and perpendicular is pretty useful. So keep those on if you like. Now I'll go back to it again to turn it on. So don't worry if you missed that. I go pretty fast, so let me know if I go too fast. Our next part is we need to create an arc. There's a few options. You can use the arc command, or we can just use a circle. I'm going to use the circle. It's pretty simple for me. So circle, diameter. So I click here for diameter. In 2013 and 14, they gave you that option of just clicking on these commands. So now you can just use one hand and pretty much do everything instead of using 2 hands. Diameter, and we're going to type in 4. And from there, we're going to move from the quadrants of the circle. To do that, you want to right-click on O-snap, make sure your quadrant is on. And we're going to use the move command. So you got move command, select the circle, select the quadrant, you'll see a triangle, and if you move your mouse over it, it's going to pop up and say quadrant. So at least you know where you're snapping to if you're not familiar to the sign. So a quadrant, and we're going to move it to the endpoint. And again, well, it's perpendicular, but it's also an endpoint. And we're going to click that. So right now we have a circle inside our item, and we need to trim off this excess material. To do that, you can use the trim command, which is up here. The way I like using trim and teaching trim is that you select trim and you select the entire object. It makes your life a lot easier. So you trim, select the entire object, you click enter or space, or right click, and then you decide what you want to trim. I want to trim this piece. That's just something happened. Go to here, trim, select the entire object. No, it got moved. The end line is right here, and my quadrant is here. Should have not made it perpendicular. Should have actually made sure that I was hitting the end point. These things happen. This is how you catch it. So I'm moving it again. Move command from that quadrant to the end point. Now you can see it specifies end point. Now the trim should work. So if I go to trim, select the entire object, trim off the parts I don't need. And I basically have the bottom piece. Now I also would like to create that circle, that sphere that comes out from the cleat. I can do that too. I already know that it's going to be 2 inches from the back, so either I can use a line to give me my center point of the circle, or I can offset this line 2 inches and take the center point of that line. So there's a few different ways of doing it. Another quick way, instead of using a line for reference to the point, this particular part is interesting because the center of the circle is the point we're looking for. So we can use that. In your O-snap, you have to make sure that you have the center option turned on for this. So if you have that on and you use your circle command, you can select the center of that circle and we can create that pin, which has a radius of 2. So you make, right now we're at diameter, or actually we might be in radius. We're in radius, so I can put 2, enter. That looks way too big. I'm sorry, the radius 2 is for this big one. It was incorrect. So, no wonder I had a bad feeling about that. The actual radius of the inside, well, actually, the diameter is 1.42. So, actually, I can show it to you on the drawing. If we go over here, and I can zoom in a little bit, I looked for this 2. That's actually the outer, the big circle. The diameter is 1.42. That's what we're looking for. Back to my drawing. Again, I go with the circle command, center point, type in D for diameter, and I type in 1.42. That looks like about the right size. So we have that part. What we want to do next is extrude it out. We want to extrude the bottom piece back and the cylinder forward. An easy way to do this, and actually we might start doing that later. Actually, I'll show it to you now. What you want to do is hold shift and move your scroll button. That will get you in an isometric view where you see your X and Y and Z coordinate system. Now, the thing about this part is we can use press. No, we can't. Actually, we don't want to use press pull. So what we want to do is actually, we're going to move this circle away for now, because we're going to extrude, press pull this part out. And if we did press pull it with the circle, this is what would happen. You can type in press pull. If we did that, you would have a hole in the middle, which is not what we want. We want to add material, not subtract it. So instead, we're going to move this circle away, and using ortho as a guide in the center, we can move it at a specified distance, let's say 5 inches, because then we can move it back when we need to, and we'll know exactly where it's located. It's 5 inches away. So what we want to do is press pull this part down. You type in the word press pull, and I'll show you a different way we can make this too, if you like. And it's going down 3 inches based on the drawing. Now if it goes up, that's alright. It shouldn't be a problem. So here's the 3 inches that I got for the thickness of this part. Let me pause this for a second. Make sure. Alright, so basically the next step will be we'll extrude this piece. So either type in EXT, or you can go to all the commands for modeling are up here. You can go to extrude here. So draw, modeling, extrude. If we were working in, instead of, right now we're in drafting and annotation, if we were in 3D modeling, all your tools that you need for 3D design would be right here under your fingertips, sort of. Anyways, draw, modeling, extrude. We select the object we want to extrude, which is the circle. We click enter, and we go up 1.812. So 1.812. We have this item. We can easily move it into position because that circle, that arc, has a center point. So from center point to center point. If you cannot see that center point, that does happen. What I recommend is just going against the arc, and it'll give you the center. For some reason, it works like that. So you place it into position. And what we're actually going to do from this point is we're going to try to work in 3D modeling. So when you have draft annotation up here, I would like everyone to change it to 3D modeling. May take some time to load. It's going to bring up this whole new different menu bar where you have press, pull, extrude, and all these other great commands. Other than that, press, pull. For example, the difference between press, pull, and extrude, great question. Let's say I have 2 boxes in here, and I have a copy of this. For press, pull, it will create the hole inside as is. For extrude, on the other hand, would not. That's the difference. Sometimes you want to remove the material from inside.
So it probably would have been easier to do that whole bit right there without having to move the circle, extrude the outer thing downwards first, and then extrude the other.
That is true if the item was not in separate pieces. You would have to make it one polyline to make it extrudable. So it's an additional step. So that's why I went with press pull, because it was a little faster. And it's also by preference. Again, if you guys want to see it in 3D conceptual view, you go over here for views, change it to conceptual. If you don't have that option, you can go over here, view, change it to conceptual. Delete these two items. These were just practice. And we have this item. Now, this may be a different tool you've never used, and we're going to use this for this project. It's going to be the extract edges, because we need to have a tapered end over here. And I believe that tapered end, these drawings are not the best. It's an additional material to the 1.812. I don't think that's the end. Or actually, no. No, that is the end. That is the end. Okay, so it's from overall height. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to use chamfer, as it specifies right here. To do that, we go back to the drawing. We go to chamfer command, which is going to be right there where fillet is. Go to chamfer, and it's going to ask us for a few different options. So our basic distance is, either we can go type in, distance 0.1. Why is this still here? So 0.1, enter, and 0.1, enter. For both distances, that gives us a 45 degree. Now we just select the edge, which is over here. Nope, that's not the edge. I should have selected the surface. Okay, distance again. And it's all preset already. That's fine. Let's see if that works. Select the edge now. There we go. Yeah, select the object and then I select the edge. That was the issue. So this gives me that chamfered end. And I have the thickness. They're all separate parts. It's right now. You don't have to union them. I prefer unioning everything at the end, because once you union, you can't go back. So it's a very key factor. At this point, I would recommend saving your work, because you did have a little bit done. Question? Alright, so our next step is actually we have to make a through hole that has a location specified to the end of this face. To do that, we will have to play with the UCX. So you want to do is, where UCS is, you select it, you take the Y at this point and make it face up, but make sure your ortho is on, otherwise you'll get some weird angles. So you do that. That way it allows you to work on that face, or that X and Y coordinates. If you rotate around, you want to see Z facing you. So Y and X is what you're working with. Z is just facing you, for which you're going to extrude parts. We're going to draw a reference line from the midpoint of the big square box, and it's going to go up 1.25. I got that number from here, 1.25 to the center of this through hole with a diameter of 0.53. So we're going to have to put that in next. So we're going to draw a circle here that is diameter of 0.53. And what you want to do is extrude completely through. Doesn't matter how long you go. Could be even this far, because we're just going to subtract it out. If you want, you can delete the line that you had for reference and use the subtract command. To do the subtract command, you select subtract, you select the cylinder, you click enter, because it's asking you do you want to select any more objects to subtract from. No, that's it. And then it's going to ask you which object do you want to subtract, which is this part. And you click enter. And you get your through hole. So this is the first part of the cleat. We're going to do the next one in just a little bit. The hole is actually in the wrong location. So what we need to do is rotate this part 90 degrees. To do that, we use the 3D rotate command, which is up here. Select that, select your object, click enter, and it will actually be in the center. That's where it defaults to. Now if you don't feel like it is in the center, you can select a center mark of that circle, and then you can just rotate, making sure that you're using ortho, otherwise it will be rotated in a wrong angle. You rotate around until you get to that position that you're looking for, which is exactly that. Next part of this is this section right here, which actually we'll have to design. If you did not change your X and Y, I recommend changing it to this view where X and Y are on this face, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to do that same face. But this time I'm going to draw it on the side, not on this. That way I don't snap onto something by accident. Use the line command. Again, it's going to be 4 inches wide. I don't know what, and then actually I can do top to get a better view. And I'm going to use a line command on the sides. They're going to be going up 1 inch both sides. And there is a 60-degree. Oh, this is going to be fun. Alright, so it's 2 inches long. No, it can't be. Can it? Let me check here for a second. Annotate. This is 1 inch. Right. Hold on 1 second. Let me just try to figure. Alright, so basically what we want to do to get that 60 inch is we need to draw a 1 inch across based on this drawing. If you look down here, it's 1 inch away from this face or this line. So we're going to use that as our helper to get us the 60 degrees we're looking for. Back to my drawing, I create a line that is 1 inch across, and the specified height I don't have any. I'm just going to keep it as high as possible, just about like that, and you'll see what I'm trying to do. Next line, I'm going to create another line over this one, but make it longer, and I'm going to rotate this around based from this point at 60 degrees. Right? No, 30 degrees. So we rotate this line 30 degrees. And that gives us our 60 total, right? That's what I'm thinking. So if I do the angular dimension, I have 60 degrees. And it should stop here because that is my 1 inch distance off from this line, which we see here. 1 inch off, and a 60 degrees where I got the 60 degrees. Now we can trim off the remaining parts we don't need. So we select the objects and we just trim off things we don't need, especially, and then delete the rest. There we go. Next step is, instead of drawing a line trying to figure this out, I just use the mirror command, and I use the midpoint of this line as my mirror line. To do that, I go to Modify, Mirror, select this object that I want to mirror, click Enter or Space, and I'm going to draw a mirror line. But make sure you have your OSNAP for midpoint and ortho on, otherwise you're in trouble. So you select that, you move your mouse directly up, click, and you say Enter. Yes, I want to keep both. And now I can just draw a line across, and that creates my part. The only things that is left is to create a 3D model out of this, and the easiest way to do so would be to use press pull, because extruding it would not work because these are segmented lines and they're not completely one full line. So we do press pull instead, and we go to a distance of 2.125 as shown on the drawing. If I rotate, you will see it being, it's a 3D part now. And all I need to do next is move it from this corner here to this corner here, ending my part. And since this is a simple project and I know it's perfect, I can union it together to create one piece using the union command up here. Solid union, select the entire object, and I union it to create my cleat. we will do the toe stop base now. Basically, what we want to start out with is designing, let's say, the bottom of this first, and then this part will be separate to make it easier. So we'll design this part, the bottom part first. We'll do the square box with a radius of, here's the radius is 2. So, and our total length will be 2.125 plus the 2 inches to the center of this circle, which is the center of this radius, this big circle. So keep that in mind, or not. You'll see me do it right now. So go back to the, well, I'm doing back view. Make sure my X and Y are facing me, not C. So I have something like this. That way I can draw on this face. If I had a grid shown, you'll see that I can draw on this part. I don't know if that helps, but I don't like grid. So basically we'll start with the distance of 4.125. So 4.125, and the height, if you want to call it the height, will be the radius, which is 4. Gotta do a little bit of math. It's tricky. Okay, and so again, 4.125. I'm gonna close it up because I just want to create that circle in the center and not worry about anything. So I O-snap to the end point. I'm creating a circle from the midpoint to the end, or to the end point, and I'm going to trim off things that I don't need, especially that circle. Trim this out and deleting this line since I have nothing to trim it to. So we have this piece, which is basically the base. It doesn't have this cut, which we'll have to do later on, and we don't have this hole, which we actually can do right now. So let's do that. We're going to create a hole that is a diameter of 1.5, and it is at 82 degrees and goes down 2 inches, which is the total depth of the material. So no big deal. But before we can actually start cutting this out, we have to actually extrude it out to actually make it a solid object. I recommend press pull because I won't have to put these lines together. But if you do not know press pull, or you can't have access to press pull because their older version of AutoCAD does not work, you have the other option of using region. So you go to draw, region, select the entire object. It will shade the object. At this point, you can select as is and extrude it out, which is going to be 2, giving you exactly what you need. Now the next step was actually creating that circle that we're going to cut out. So we can go to our circle command, and there will be a center point for this arc. I can't select it for some reason. An easy way, and usually it works, is if I just move next to the actual arc, it'll give me my center point. For some reason, it's pretty cool, but at the same time, it's a hassle. But keep that in mind. Our radius for this part will be, our diameter is 1.5. So go back to that. Whoa, I'm losing my mind here. I lost my circle. Sorry. So I'm going to do it again. Radius, which is already preset, 1.5. That can't be right. Was that radius or diameter? Yeah, that was the diameter. So again, circle, select that, D for diameter, 1.5. That was what I needed. So we are going at a down 2 inches and at 82 degrees. 2 inches is the thickness of the material, so we just have to worry about the 82 degrees. We can go to extrude, we select the object, the circle, and we go down, but before we click anything, we've got to click taper, and we'll go 82 degrees. Enter. Now I'm hoping that's right. No, it actually went upwards. Actually, I don't think it's 82 degrees. This is not nice. I'm checking this. So that's a mistake. That's incorrect. It should be first of all, a 1.5 diameter hole, diameter 1.5, enter, extrude out, extrude this part all the way through, use the subtract command, select the object to subtract from, select the item to subtract, click enter. That's our first hole. Our second part, which will be that taper at a diameter of 2. So we take a circle at that same point, type in diameter of 2, we extrude it out to have an 82-degree taper. And then we subtract that out. Actually, okay, so enter, and subtract that out. Subtract from this item this taper. And we'll have that 82-degree taper. It may look a little bit bigger on the drawing, but actually this is what it's supposed to look like. So we have that taper. There's a slot on this wall, a circle that goes all the way through. So that's going to be our next step, which we have to change our UCX, otherwise it won't work. An easy way of doing this is moving the UCX from the center, selecting a face that you're going to be working on, and it usually adjusts to the correct coordinate. So X and Y is what we're looking at, and that's what we need. And we're going to use the line command to figure out exactly where to place the circle, which will be exactly at where this arc ends, so this line right here. Except it's going to be a distance of 1.125 from the wall. So I'm going to change the color here so you guys can see it better. I guess it's not working, but that's where it ends. It actually is lower than the center, so keep that in mind. So if you see from here, it is actually centered at this arc, 1.25 down, and it's 0.55 diameter through. So we draw that circle at the end point, D for diameter, 0.55, and we go extruding out completely through. Actually, I think press pulling would allow us, actually no, it's going to break it into pieces. So we're going to extrude it all the way out and use the subtract command again. It's pretty much how a machine would work. You know, it would subtract material out of the whole item. So we have that part. Finally, to do the lower part of this toe stop base, we need to cut these slots. This is 0.25. There's 2 of them from both sides by 0.5. So we'll draw it from the back. But before I do that, I'm going to go walk around and make sure people are cut up. Now what we want to do is cut those 2 slots on the side. So I'm going to move this object over. It's in my way. Selecting it and just moving it. It has the original sketch, but that's alright. We want to draw on this face. So we have to make sure we rotate the Z-axis to face us. There we go. And we're going to create those 2 rectangles that are going to be cut through, which is a 0.25 by 0.5. To do that, you go back to your drawing, you do a rectangle, you select anywhere in the area, and you type in D for dimension. At this point, you type in 0.25 by 0.5. You have your rectangle. You may need to rotate it if it's in the wrong direction, at which I have it the wrong direction, I believe. Let me check. Yes, I do. So I need to rotate it around using the rotate command and making sure you have ortho on to rotate it at a specified angle. At this point, we're going to move this square at the corner and make a copy of it to the other corner, like so. And we're going to extrude them out to subtract. I think that goes all the way through. Yes, it does. So we go back to this, we go to extrude, and we actually extrude both of them. Save us some time. We extrude them out completely. We use the subtract command. At this point, we use 2 objects to subtract, and we subtract it out. We end up with something like this, which is pretty much what we can figure out from this drawing, because it does not really give us all the details. That's right, we can almost see the hole inside going through this 0.55. Okay, so our next part will be to draw this side view, extrude it out, and create this slot that goes all the way through, I believe. or actually there's the specifications for it. So we'll start with this weird shape. Basically we know it's 4 inches wide, 2 high, and we got this angle that's 60 degrees and so forth. So we're going to work with that right now. Back to the drawing. We can still draw this X and Y coordinates, it's fine. We'll create 4 inches across. And let me just check. It is going to be 2 inches high. So we draw a line 2 inches high. You can do that on both sides as is. And now the situation, we have a 60-degree angle. So what we want to do is draw a line. I'm going to rotate it around to 60 degrees. Like so. And it ends at a distance of a 1.25. So we go down ortho 1.25 and across, and that gives us our endpoint for this sharp angle. I believe it's 60 degrees, but it looks kind of too sharp, so I think it was 60 degrees from the other way around. So I will have to go back, draw that line again, and this time rotate it only 30 degrees. So this is 1.25 across. Oh, this is not good. Doesn't specify. And one down, so 1 inch down. So that is where our intersect is. We can trim out that material that we don't need, which is these two, and delete the remaining lines that we're not going to use. We take these two items, we mirror it across. So you go to modify mirror using the midpoint to give us this shape, original shape. At which point we extrude out, create the circles at the center, and subtract them out. So to do this, I would press pull because these are segmented lines, or we can use the region command as I showed before. I'm going to use press pull this time. Select the inside object. We are extruding it out 2.125 based on the drawings. And now we're going to design from the top the circles. To do that, we want to make sure we have the UCX in the right direction. We want the Z to face up. Like, kind of got an angle, so I have to undo that. There we go. So if I look at the top, I have the X and Y coordinates looking at me. I draw a reference line from midpoint to midpoint to give me the center of this part, and this is where we can start creating these circles, the cutouts. We're not going to do the through all cut first because we need to use that for the entire object. If we do want to do that, we would have to move this object into position, which we can easily do. We select the object with that reference line, select the corner, move it into position to that part, from which we can just start doing our cuts. First circle will be 0.812 from what it looks like. Yeah, 0.812. Nope, that's the radius. Is it? So that's the diameter. Diameter 0.812. And that goes completely through. So we do extrude this circle completely through, and we subtract it out from both items. So our first cut is that. Then we create a second circle, the same center point, and this one is going to be diameter of 1.812. But it is only deep as specified, which is, what is it? 0.186. And that we subtract also from, now it's an entire piece by itself. So Oops, I think I went the wrong direction on that 0.182. It went up instead of down, which happens sometimes. To fix that, you select the object, you move it from its quadrant to its bottom quadrant. That gives you that same distance that you're subtracting. So subtract from this object that cylinder. And we can delete that reference line. So we have our finished part. This should go into this, and the actual hex cap screw has to go through in here. That goes through this hole. So once you have that made, you can complete the project. Actually, since I'm going so fast, I might as well do it right now. To do the hex pin or hex cap screw, we create a circle. The diameter is 1.13. Of thickness is, so I'm extruding it out, 0.38. Extrude 0.38. And then the second part of it is the circle that is on top. The diameter is 0.5 and extrude it out to be a total of 5 with a chamfer of 0.06. So D, enter 0.06, 0.06, enter, select, enter, oops, enter, oops, what's going on here? Enter, 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 edge, enter, enter. And I believe there's also a taper of the same kind at this. It's not specified, but you can put that in. So we can go to fillet, chamfer, edge. There we go. And we have all our parts. You can union the parts together to make sure once you complete them. And you can put it together using 3D rotate. So you can play around with that sometimes. 3D rotate this part. Oh, what's going on here? This one doesn't want to play, but that's alright. I'm going to move this one into position, which is right here. And I need to rotate this one, which is not playing fair. But my UCXs, I can use that and then use the regular rotate command to fix that problem. No big deal. There we go. And I need to move it in a way that the center point of this circle out here hits this circle right there. It's a little bit longer than it should be. Don't know why, but that's how they have it made. And that concludes your part.